The Office of the Prime Minister Press Office is the primary liaison between the Fourth Estate and the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Every day, we are working to build a more inclusive economy and a stronger, safer country.
Hear all of the latest developments as the Davis administration carries out the broad mandate of progress and change. Our live weekly press briefings provide full access to current newsmakers on the most topical issues of the day. We facilitate prompt responses from cabinet ministers on the latest reports and get answers on the issues that matter to you.
Will any penalties be levied against the...
OPM Press Now, keeping you in the know. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Office of the Prime Minister and our weekly press briefing. It's good to see you all as usual. This morning, we are going to get some significant updates. We will start things off with the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Wayne Munro, who will give us details of the Northern Caribbean Security Summit, which the Bahamas is hosting, which will begin tomorrow. We'll have an idea of what some of the goals of that summit are. We will also get an update on repatriation. As you know, the Bahamas is keeping a keen eye on movement between Haiti and the Bahamas, especially in light of the unrest which is taking place there. We'll hear from the minister on that. We also have today, very pleased to have the B3A's president, Mr. Dromiko Archer, and some of the best young athletes in the world, I'll say that, who are preparing to head off to the Carifta Games and beyond. I declare that today for them. So we'll talk to Mr. Archer about preparations for those Carifta Games and hear from the athletes themselves. We'll start things off now with the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Wayne Munro.
Thank you, Keisla. Apologies for being a bit late here. That arose because of some activity in the House of Assembly this morning that I would like to address the Bahamian public on before I move on to the repatriation exercise that is completed now and the Northern Caribbean Security Summit. This morning in the House of Assembly, we debated and passed the boat registration bill and the Water Ski and Motorboat Control Amendment Bill 2024. The effect of those bills are to impose on persons who want to apply for profit and otherwise safety standards for their vessels. This is very personal to me, as my first cousin, my aunt's daughter, Delarice Joffa, died in a boating accident in Exuma, which, if these provisions were in place, may have been avoided. The other thing that the bills did was that they reduced the level of fees payable by persons seeking to register vessels. You will remember that after the budget, there was an outcry from the boating community. The government heard it, and these bills address those level of fees by reducing them. The opposition voted against those reduction in fees as they voted against the bills. There was misbehavior in the House by the opposition, as it had been made clear to them that the debate would be wrapped up by 1 p.m. They were invited to debate the Immigration Amendment Bill in the afternoon, which they didn't consent to, and in fairness, given the time, we didn't determine to insist on it. In future, we will. The public who pay attention and watch parliamentary proceedings will observe that the opposition is made up of 7 members of parliament, while the government is made up of 32 members of parliament. On every bill, all 7 insist on speaking for 3.5 hours, which, if that was the case, the government side would speak for 16 hours. That is not an efficient way to do business. We notified them that we would give them equal time with us, even though they are 7 and we are 32. They insist on having their own way. The rules of the House do not support that, and as such, in the time indicated, we moved the question. The leader of the opposition chose not to speak first or second. His deputy leader chose not to speak first or second, and they chose to spend the majority of their time speaking about things other than the 2 bills we were debating. Ironically, the contribution of Sinans, who went first, touched on immigration. And so it strikes me that if they wanted to be honest, we could have completed that part of the people's business. The government has an aggressive legislative agenda, and we will, on every occasion, give the opposition time to speak, either all of them their full time because it's a matter of great substance, or if it's something that's of less substance, equal time with us. The behavior was not stellar, and we trust that going forward they will observe the rules. That is what I would wish to communicate with regard to that subject matter. They were given equal time, even though it is 7 of them and 32 of us. The public would have been assailed by many false narratives that suggested that the Department of Immigration would cease arrest of illegal migrants and that we would seek repatriation. The Bahamas Department of Immigration had indicated that that is not accurate, either statement. And I will now advise the Bahamian public of the completed repatriation exercise by sea that took place from yesterday evening to this morning. The Ministry of National Security, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and the Bahamas Department of Immigration, together with the Ministry of Immigration, arranged for repatriation of the 107 migrants intercepted by the HMBS Kamalami over the weekend, and a number of migrants who were then at the detention center in New Providence. A total of 156 migrants in all were flown down to Inagua, Great Inagua. The HMBS Lawrence Major was scheduled to depart Matthewtown, Inagua at 6 p.m. and did. She was escorted by the HMBS Kamalami to the port of Cape Haitian on the northern coast of the Republic of Haiti. The forecast arrival time, which was roughly met, was 8 a.m. this morning. The ship's ordinary crew of HMBS Lawrence Major and HMBS Kamalami was supplemented by 10 commandos from Commando Squadron of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and 17 armed immigration officers and an intelligence officer from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. The total migrants repatriated were 263 Haitian nationals, 216 males, 44 females, 3 children, of which 2 were males and 1 was a female. They arrived shortly after sunrise, the HMBS Lawrence Major loitered in the harbor while HMBS Kamalami entered the harbor to assure that the way was safe and the port was secured. Migrants were then ferried to the port on board the HMBS Kamalami and handed over to Haitian officials on shore. The exercise being complete, the vessels departed and are headed at this moment back to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas without any incident. It is the commitment of this Davis Cooper administration to protect the territorial integrity of this country. The Honorable Prime Minister has indicated in many statements that he has refused to sign the Declaration of Los Angeles that would have imposed on us an ability to house migrants, as our country is heavily taxed with what we have to accomplish now and are not capable of taking on that extra burden. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force, the Bahamas Department of Immigration, are resolute in protecting the territorial integrity of this country, of apprehending irregular migrants, and of repatriating them back to their home country, wherever that may be. That is what we would wish to say with regard to that matter. You are also aware of an interdiction over the weekend in the Exuma train by the fast patrol boats of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, which migrants were ferried to New Providence on board the HMBS Raleigh Gray. If I can now turn to the Northern Caribbean Security Summit. This is the third meeting, the third summit. The first was held in the Turks and Caicos Islands after this administration came to office in 2021. The second iteration was held in Florida last year, and we now host the third Northern Caribbean Security Summit under a theme, Advancing Today's Security Strategies for a Safer Tomorrow. The summit involves the governments of the United States of America, the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the government of the British colony of Turks and Caicos Islands, and the British government, as the colony does not address its own foreign affairs. The summit discusses and relates to the OPBAT arrangement, the tripartite arrangement between the three countries, the three territories, touching and concerning the interdiction and the minimization of the traffic of narcotics and illegal drugs. We seek to stay on the cutting edge of the interdiction of narcotics and illegal drugs, inclusive of tracing the source of funds, attacking and combating the transnational criminal organizations that run the practice, and further exploring what other use can be made of the framework. You may be aware that with migrant smuggling, the authorities are finding that those who smuggle migrants often include in that exercise drugs and firearms. And so we are contending with our partners that the interdiction of narcotics and drugs cannot be divorced from the interdiction of irregular migrants on vessels that are often found to also include dangerous drugs and firearms. You're all invited to the opening ceremonies that take place tomorrow at the Queen Elizabeth Ballroom, British Colonial Hotel, for the official opening, after which the summit will go in closed session for the actual members and participants to discuss the topics that are on the agenda as we strengthen our resolve to combat transnational criminal organizations and disrupt their business in and through the Turks and Caicos Islands, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and the United States of America. The acting Prime Minister, the Honorable I. Chester Cooper, will give the opening keynote address. The Royal Governor of the Turks and Caicos Islands will be present, and the United States will be represented by the Charge d'Affaires, Usha Pitts, who is wrapping up her deployment to the Bahamas and is due shortly to leave to take up her next assignment. With that, I'll open the floor to any questions.
Yesterday, Amnesty International would have called for states in this region to stop Haiti deportations. This is not the first time that entity or international entities have sought to put pressure on Caribbean states to stop these deportations. Is this something the government has in mind, or will their position change as a result of this?
No, the Prime Minister has been resolute. The Prime Minister is focused on the well-being of the Bahamas. The well-being of the Bahamas does not permit us to accede to Amnesty International's request, didn't permit him to sign the Declaration of Los Angeles as the United States of America sought to impress on us to do. I am confident that this Prime Minister will never let down the people of the Bahamas and act against our interest. And at this time, it is the feeling of this government, as witnessed by the repatriation exercise over this evening and this morning, that continuing to return migrants to their country of origin is in the Bahamian national security interest.
I don't know if you're able to answer this, but I found the director of immigration around March 13th. He had indicated at the time that the airports in Cape Haitian may have reopened that week. Obviously, that hasn't happened. What are the talks now, the potential of airports being open in Haiti? Because even though sea is an option, obviously for what was indicated by the Commodore, repatriation by air is obviously favorable. So how is the talks looking for airports to reopen?
We don't affect opening of their ports, airport or seaport. We repatriate in a manner that's safe for the migrants being returned and safe for us. The public may not be aware, but in the outset, I believe it was the late 80s, the 90s, repatriation was routinely done by sea. Routinely. What we may wish to consider and take serious stock of is whether or not, from a financial perspective, repatriation by sea is not more favorable. And for the very simple reason, if you walk through it, there will be a cost to leasing the jets to fly persons home. The Lawrence Major can accommodate, I'm advised, up to 400 migrants at a time. The cost related to repatriation by sea would be the additional food expense, the additional fuel expense. The servicemen are engaged in any event, and the trip to and from the repatriation exercise, the ship's radars are functioning, and they do play a part in identifying what is happening. But we will continue repatriations, and unless the airports are safely open, and more importantly, the airlines that we use to repatriate on choose to fly there given their considerations, we will continue repatriation. And for this moment, repatriation by sea was the available option.
You said that the repatriation is related to sea. It all depends on the extra fuel and food. So can you estimate what that extra amount of money would have been with the last two repatriations by sea?
I'm aware of one. I can get that for you. The Defense Force would have to calculate the fuel burn on the two vessels. Their engines would be rated for them to tell us what the fuel burn is, multiplied by the cost. And of course, for a journey of that sort, you have to feed the migrants and your crew. On this occasion, two vessels were used. The Lawrence Major was escorted because of the uncertainty about the security circumstances of the port of Cape Haitian. That they escorted the Lawrence Major as a security measure. The extra commandos were put on board as a security measure.
Minister, we've seen a number of rises in the cases of missing persons on the island of Grand Bahama. Are law enforcement agents over there concerned about this? It was specifically some number of elderly people as well. Do they believe this can be, I guess, maybe dementia, a sign of dementia, or the use of drugs on the island of Grand Bahama?
One of your colleagues from Grand Bahama was inquiring of me about that. Firstly, when we age, a number of us have challenges with dementia, Alzheimer's and dementia. It is important to take care for our senior citizens. We are told that you're once a man and twice a child. And so just as we would care for our children, just as these seniors who are now a child for the second time cared for us when we were virtually children, it imposes on us the same obligation to care for them just as they cared for us. It is unfortunate that a number of senior citizens, I'm advised, have gone missing in Grand Bahama. The issue raised was whether it could be human trafficking. Human trafficking is generally related to sex trafficking and labor trafficking. So it is unlikely to be human trafficking. But the TIP secretariat that is housed in my ministry, ASP Bell, can be contacted for specific information in that area. But we must take care of, I think Algernon Allen used to refer to them as our precious pearls. And we must remember that they looked after us when we were young. And the Bible admonishes us to honor our father and our mother, that our days may be long and we may be blessed.
Afternoon, Minister. Theo Celia, Witness News. Two questions for you. The first, I'm not sure if you've received an update from police yet on those group of young boys who attacked the man who appeared to be homeless. We haven't heard anything about that, if additional juveniles were brought in, and what is the measure of punishment that can be brought against these youngsters. Any update on that?
I've not received the briefing since they did the initial arrest. I would venture to think that they would, as the police do, diligently follow up. They may or may not have apprehended others, and they would have subjected them to the court processes. I can make inquiries and advise.
Thank you. Second question. There's been a video circulating on social media with what appears to be a Caucasian man at a resort in Western New Providence, seemingly, I guess, taking part in the use of what appears to be cocaine outside in a resort area. Has that come across your desk? Are police investigating? Because it's been making the rounds for the past few days now.
He's said to be using it how? Snorting it free?
Alleged cocaine.
Okay. I haven't seen it. I know we are in the spring break season where history has shown that the revelers do some unusual things. I haven't seen it. If the police have seen it, they may well have investigated. The difficulty with making a case based on a video, of course, is you have to show what the substance is. So I have no doubt if they were made aware of it, that might have triggered a search. And if he were found in possession of any drug, then the law would take its course.
Commissioner Fernando would have shared that he would have submitted his 2024 policing plan to your office to be approved and tabled. Is there an estimate timeline on when we can expect that?
It should be tabled the next time the House meets. The House is not meeting next week because we're in Holy Week, and we don't generally meet during Holy Week. The House is adjourned to the 3rd of April, when the policing plan should be tabled.
Thank you very much, Minister Monroe. We will move now to something that excites us all, sports, especially when we see our young athletes waving that Bahamian flag, which they will do in about a week or so as they head to the Carifta Games. To tell us about the team, the composition of the team, and what our expectations are this year, we welcome Dramico Archer, who is president of the B3As. Mr. Archer.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. I believe it may have been about a year ago. I think the team Bahamas had performed better than they had performed since 1984. And 1 year later, we're expecting the very same quality of performance. Today, I can tell you, I can report to the nation that we have a team of 77 athletes, perhaps 85% of whom were outright qualifiers. The additionals would have been for the deployment of relay duty. And so it is safe to say that perhaps the first time in our history, we've composed a team as large as this with so many qualifiers. I think it bodes well for the prospect of doing exceedingly well in Grenada, and perhaps even better than we did last year. I'm not here to hog up the mic today. I thought that it would have been a good thing to introduce 3 of our outstanding athletes who would tell you about their journey towards the Carifta Games. But before I do so, I should also say to you that Team Bahamas will be also complemented by team officials of a total of 14 team officials. That's inclusive of the management staff, chaperone, and our medical team together with coaches. So in total, we have 91 members going to Grenada. We will be accompanied by the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Culture, and the acting minister, Mr. Leon Lundy, will be leading that charge. And obviously, wherever we go, we carry with us the Carifta Congos, and we will bring life and give life in Grenada. I will speak about the particulars and anything that might be of interest, but before I do so, I think that it would be appropriate for me to introduce you to our last year gold medalist in the javelin throw, Mr. Caden Cartwright. New member of our team is Nia Richards. She was the upsetter, if you would call it that, winning the 200 meters and also qualifying herself in the 100-meter hurdles. And to my left is the returning silver medalist in the women's triple jump. She will be contesting both triple jump and long jump. I should say to you, Caden, what are you studying? Computer engineering. Caden is now off to university studying computer engineering. We have Nia Richards, who is studying law, and we have one of the brightest girls coming out of Queens College, Lanesha Lubin. I think you want to study sports medicine. So we not only produce stellar athletes on the track, we're developing good, wholesome citizens. And if I should say, in the presence of the Minister of National Security, I believe the track makes a contribution to the reduction in crime. So without further ado, Caden, and I should say sport, not just track and field.
Good day, everyone. My name is Caden Cartwright. Last year, I was on the team for the 20 World Javelin. I won. This year, I plan to defend my gold medal, try my best to win again for Team Bahamas. I'm very grateful to God and to the team for allowing me to be on this team for my final year. Yeah. Any questions?
Okay. Good day. My name is Lanisha, and as Mr. Archer said, I am the triple jump silver medalist. I didn't win a medal in the long jump last year, but this year I intend to for sure get that gold medal in the triple and get on the podium for long jump. In terms of preparation for the games, there's just a few tweaks and adjustments that need to be made. However, I do feel ready, I'm prepared, and I have a lot of hopes for the team. I think our team is very stacked, and we have a lot of people that are going to perform well and really represent the Bahamas well.
Good day. I just would like to thank the Office of the Prime Minister for hosting all of us. I feel as though the team is very stacked, and this is my first Carifta Games. I participated in the NACA Games in Costa Rica last year, and I came home with 1 silver medal, which was a relay, so I'm very happy that God kept me healthy this season and allowed me to come back and not qualify in not 1 but 2 events, one of which I just started this year, which was the 100-meter hurdles. I just would like to thank my coaches, Coach Charlton, Coach Ferguson, the whole Star Trackers and Star Elite team for getting me where I am, as well as Mr. Archer for putting in very insightful words and encouraging me, especially after coming off of 2 injuries back to back. So like Lanisha said, this is a very strong team, and I feel like we'll do well. Thank you.
Theo, I see your mouth itching. You don't got no questions for me, right?
No, I'm just very proud of these youngsters.
Very good, very good. I think they want to answer some questions. So, please.
I'm not really a sports person, but what were like preparations like for the last few months or since the last Carifta Games for you guys to come back and do better this time around?
Okay, well, first of all, we train basically all year round. We only have like a few months where we kind of like take a break. So for off-season training, we were very intense training coming back into, 2024 season. And approaching the meets and Carifta trials, we would slightly improve and just track our improvements and then tweak as we go. So it's just like a process of understanding where you are and then making your adjustments and, improving. It's just really improvement until you reach the goal that you're trying to get to. And even so, we still have like goals that we're trying to reach. Me personally, I really want to qualify for World Juniors. Nia here has already qualified. So yeah, hopefully we get to be on the team together.
And in addition to that, I just would like to note, Lanisha explained more of the physical part, but make no mistake, all sports are very mental, but I feel like track is one of the most mentally taxing
100%.
sports because it's extremely individual. When you get on that line or when you get to the board, it's only you. And especially for all 3 of us, we've battled injuries. So battling injuries, it's physically very painful, but mentally it can be as well. So it's not only about physical, but spiritually and getting your mind ready, especially going into such a major competition. We glorify Carifta, and you're going to be performing in front of how many countries? Like over 50 countries. So it's just getting your mind right and making sure that you're strong and you can handle however many rounds you have to go through. How many rounds you do?
Six for me.
Yeah, 6 rounds.
It's 6 for me.
It's 6 rounds for
Yeah.
both of us. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then also, like how she mentioned the spiritual and mental part of it, it truly is very taxing. That's why it's so important that we bond as a team as well so we could rely on one another. I've been on multiple teams with these 2 here, so I have a close bond with them. So one of my goals is to really bond with the new members of the team because I don't really know them as well. So hopefully we could boost like the morale of the team so we could all be prepared and hyped for the games because that really plays a very important role in performance. Also, like it's very important that we remember to put God first because at the end of the day, this is not possible without Him at all. And all of us are believers in Christ. So we take it very serious to always remember God first and put Him first in everything that we do.
How do you feel about not just being a member of the team, but actually being an ambassador for the Bahamas?
I am actually so grateful for the opportunity and proud to be a Bahamian, of course, always. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Can I ask a question? Because I've experienced agony of defeat, never the joy of victory. Could you explain to us, especially the persons who would have gotten gold and just making it to the platform, how does that make you feel? You see your flag, you hear your anthem, you're a winner.
Well, like last year, I was kind of injured, and I did come up with the goal. So I was pretty happy for God to allow me to come through the injury, get the goal, even though I was injured. And to represent the Bahamas is very important to me, you know. I'm raised here all my life, so yeah, proud to rock my flag.
Also, at the games that Caden won his gold medal at, not only at Grifter, but he also won the medal at, was that Pan Am or NACA? Pan Am. I was injured at the time, so I didn't get to fully participate, but I was just so proud to see my teammate on the podium because we didn't win a lot. Like, we didn't win a lot of medals at that game, so it was just very uplifting. Even though I didn't get to participate, I still felt as though I won because my teammate was on the podium.
That's motivation, and
Yeah.
also that Caden, he won the first medal at
Right.
all.
Yep, that was
at
the first
Carif-
medal for us.
at Carifta that year, so I feel like that motivated the whole team to go out there and put up their best.
Right.
When y'all win, the whole Bahamas feel like
Yeah. Right. Any more questions?
Yeah, what can we do? What can the average Bahamian do to offer more support to Team Bahamas? I know a lot of times Bahamians think that government is to foot the bill, government is to support.
I feel like we were just speaking about this today, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Jamia Nabi
Yes.
because I feel like last year, if you didn't know, Jamia's young, and last year she was the golden girl, creating an upset in both the 100 and 200, because even Bahamians, when we go into Carifta, we have this mindset that, oh, we're going to come second and third to Jamaica or whatever other country, and she overdid herself and outdid herself, and so she got a lot of attention, and which she deserved. But even like now, she is currently on injury,
Right.
and a lot of people have been like tearing her down
Kind of like
and
turn on her. So it's very
and making her feel
discouraging.
less than she
Right.
less than she is. And I just wanted to make it clear that everybody's human, and she overdid herself at Carifta to be able to run the time that she ran. Those were actually lifetime bests for her, which means that was the fastest she ever ran in her life. And I feel like now is the time for us to come together and encourage her and lift her up so that she can remember that this is just, I feel like that's why I said back to the mental thing. This is just going to make her stronger so that when she does come back, like nothing will be able to stop her. So to answer the question, I feel like the average Bahamian could just, even when we fall down, make sure
Just
you
always be there
to lift her up.
Right, because it's very important for us as well, because we represent our country and by default representing our people. So it's a lot on us mentally, to have that in the back of our minds. We can't let our people down. We can't let our fellow Bahamians down. You understand? So it'll be best for the other Bahamians and everybody that's watching and supporting us to just keep the positive mindset and not get negative when it comes to bad performances or not as well performances. It's
Just pray for us.
pray for us.
Say that.
Pray for us, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think that we got it all from our athletes, but Theo, to also approach the question from a different perspective. I think that moral support is always very good. I think that is really the engine that drives and inspires, but nothing can be done without financing. And track and field is generally considered a grassroots sport where the support from corporate Bahamas is quite lacking. And I am always very grateful to the support that we receive from the government of the Bahamas, but certainly they need help. And I think that really the onus is on all of us to ensure that we can provide more financial contribution to sports generally, and in particular in our sport that is composed largely of a lot of disadvantaged kids. So spread the word. Keishla, I just want to thank you and your team for inviting the B3s out. Pray for the team, and let's go Bahamas.
Let's go Bahamas. That's the watchword. And I just want to say congratulations to the team on behalf of the Office of the Prime Minister. You're so very inspiring to listen to you speak this morning, and just know that when you hit the track or the javelin pit and the field and everything associated with track, that the whole Bahamas is behind you. We definitely are. Congratulations and do well. All right. Are there any questions for me today? Yes. Oh, wow. Don't all speak at once. Go ahead.
Obviously, the question is what's been going around social media regarding the alleged PMU BMW. The question I have is, did the car then get purchased? And more importantly, was it sanctioned? Did the Prime Minister knew about this person's sanction?
Okay. Any right-thinking person would appreciate that the Office of the Prime Minister needs a vehicle. It is not the personal vehicle of the Prime Minister. It is purchased for the office. A BMW vehicle was purchased at a cost of $192,000. But let me hasten to say that the previous vehicle had lived out its time. That was purchased in 2011. So you can do the math and see how old that vehicle was. That was actually purchased at a cost, I understand, of $300,000, which is substantially less than this one. Substantially more, pardon me, than the vehicle in question now. It wasn't until that vehicle began to experience mechanical problems that consideration was given to the purchase of a new vehicle. That vehicle is expected to last for at least 10 years. That is the investment that is expected to be derived from the purchase of this vehicle. I'll also say that at a previous point, another vehicle that may not be considered in the luxury category was purchased. That did not survive for as long as was anticipated. I think the life of that was 6 years. So the object here is to obviously have a vehicle for the Office of the Prime Minister that has that will have the life, a 10-year span at least, and that is befitting of the Office of the Prime Minister.
I guess on the heels of that, right, there's been some talk amongst the opposition as well as among the electorate that there seems to be a trend of lavish spending with the Davis-Cooper administration. $192,000 on a vehicle, alleged $500,000 to travel to Botswana, $1 million trip to Dubai, $2 million elevator in OPM. From the Office of the Prime Minister's perspective, what do you say to the electorate who questions whether or not this is lavish spending, or is it requisite spending in order to fulfill good governance?
Well, Theo, I think it's important for us not to look at spending in a vacuum. The Prime Minister travels, obviously, to make connections with other world leaders for the benefit of the Bahamas, whether it's traveling and consulting or striking deals that will allow us to have more favorable terms for borrowing money, especially in the case of disaster, for example. Advocating on behalf of the Bahamas in the financial services space for fairer terms in the financial services sector, or, for example, traveling to Botswana to make connections or collaboration between banks in the Caribbean and the African region. They are intended to benefit the Bahamas, and we expect to see the benefits of those travels and those collaborations going forward. On the other hand, the government has also spent, obviously, to the benefit of Bahamians. We have a social assistance program that was improved in the previous budget. We have a school breakfast program that was initiated to provide breakfast for children who otherwise may not have had a hot breakfast, if at all. So, it can't be viewed in a vacuum. Spending has to be done, and it's done on both ends of the spectrum.
talks in the fallout of that, that someone in the Ministry of Finance was transferred, or someone at OPM, David Davis, he respond to those allegations that because of this whole matter, that person may have, was not being, was for the cause.
There is absolutely no truth to the assertion that the permanent secretary who was previously linked to this office was removed for anything to do with the purchase of the vehicle. That's absolutely false.
And just to clarify, again, there were talks that, there was one BMW, but there was apparently two BMWs, but then the purchase within the span of 2 years. Then you said that there was a car previously purchased. Can you clarify that?
There was one vehicle, or is one vehicle, that is on loan as we await a final purchase of a vehicle, or the landing of a vehicle. I'm not sure what the status of the current vehicle is, but there is one on loan for the use of the office.
And how much did that one cost?
I'm not sure what the numbers are, but it is on loan.
And I know you spoke a little bit to this, but what do you say to big unions that feel like this is a slap in the face that we're having a BMW purchase around this time? I know you said the old one needs to be let go, but this is happening during a time when NAB was just said to be increased, and it may seem like the time it just feels a bit like a slap in the face of unions. This purchase.
As I said, I think any thinking person can appreciate that the Office of the Prime Minister needs a vehicle for the very rigorous schedule that the Prime Minister has to deal with on a daily basis. And I've obviously shared the comparisons of vehicles that were purchased for the office as well.
And with that, any old one that was defunct, I'm guessing, what's going to happen to that? Is that going to be?
I'm not sure what the fate of that vehicle will be.
The one that's on loan, that's one that's downstairs.
I couldn't say for sure. Couldn't say that for sure.
But it's not the new one.
I don't believe it is. But again, I couldn't be sure which car is where. No.
Nebraska is the most recent one that's being driven by the Prime Minister now. Is the one that was purchased in 2011.
Sorry?
The most recent car that's being driven by the Prime Minister now, that's the one that was purchased in 2011.
No, the one that was purchased in 2011 was the Mercedes, which is out of commission. Any further questions? All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.